Ciao, what's poppin' YouTube? We are back for part 2 of our deep dive into the Cybermen. So, I had a really bad cold last week, still have it a little bit. I could not record this video, but I kind of can now, but if I sound a bit off, that is why. Anyway, today we are looking at the episodes of the 70s and 80s run of the classic series of Doctor Who, so the rest of the classic series of Doctor Who. This is part 2 of the series, so if you want to see my episode on the 60s Cybermen, I'll link it below. And one more thing I forgot to go over in the last video is this. This series is only looking at the Cybermen episodes of the TV show. I will not be taking any comic books, Big Finish audios, or anything like that into account. There is just too much content out there. So I'm sorry lads, but Cyberwoman will not be covered in this series. Anyway, the Cybermen's appearance in The Invasion was their last for quite a while. They took the third Doctor's run off completely, but came back for the finale to Tom Baker's first series with 1975's Revenge of the Cybermen. So this episode is pretty bad, all things considered. I think most people consider it to be pretty bad. It had been almost 10 years since the Cybermen had been villains on the show, and they had been redesigned again. Their design is similar to the Invasions, but they have guns in their heads now, which is kind of cool, as it means they can shoot people with this real sort of mechanical apathy that really adds to their characterization in a physical way. This is also the first time that we get the black handlebars to distinguish a cyber leader from a regular Cyberman, which becomes the design constant for them moving forwards until I think around the Moffat era is when that changes. So this story follows the Doctor, Sarah Jane and Harry on the space station, waiting for the TARDIS to catch back up with them because of events that took place throughout the season. They get there and they find the place devastated by a weird plague, and the crew of 50 has been reduced to about 3. So the station is orbiting this planet called Voga, which is a planet made of gold, and has been quarantined for quite a while. So there are some pesky cybermats thinking about the ship, which are these sort of mouse-like cybernetic creatures that work for the Cybermen and do basically espionage and sabotaging. And it turns out that the Cybermen are behind this dastardly plague that's hitting everyone. Basically, the Cyber Wars have been raging, which is a new addition to the Cyberman lore, and the Cybermen are losing because they have this new weakness, which is a weakness to gold. Yeah, to gold. Apparently it clogs their breathing apparatus or something, I don't really know. And so they realise that this planet they are orbiting is Voga, the legendary planet of gold. Which I don't know if this is a reference to, like, the Vogans from, Hitchhiker's Guide, because Douglas Adams was overseeing the show by this point. So anyway, so because of gold only appears on this planet in the Doctor Who universe, apparently the Cybermen want to destroy it. So the Cybermat poisons Sarah Jane
magazines which departed from the ship's cell. In the constellation of Xerus X20, the intensity of radiation caused severe distortion. When the computer dealt with all of it,
and so the Doctor realises that if he transmits her down to the surface of the planet, this will cure the poison. So Harry and Sarah Jane get beamed down to Voga and get caught up in this political struggle between two rival factions of Vogans. So while they're on that fun journey, a group of Cybermen board the space station and take it over. They reveal their dastardly plan to strap bombs to the Doctor and the other crew members and then use the bombs to blow up the planet. So the Cybermen transmat down to the planet with the Doctor and people, and they are off to the core of Voga to just destroy it. So there is a big fight between the Vogas and the Cybermen, and the Cybermen's disdainful headguns are kind of cool. And anyway, the Cybermen get defeated, and their spaceship gets blown out the sky by the Vogans. The end.
The rocket is closing on the Cybermen's ship.
Touch more starboard rudder, Commander.
Come on, just a few more seconds.
There's a missile on our port bow. Engage full thrust. Deploy energy shield.
So the Cybermen look worse here than they ever have. There's no real body horror and they have terrible voices. They just look ridiculous. Somehow the best Cyberman design is still the original one. The Cybermen gain another weakness in gold, which is stupid. Why is gold any worse than any other metallic pollutant? And it just feels like this could have been a completely new Doctor Who villain, as the Cybermen are so divorced from anything previous, along with a 7-year disappearance from the television. They come back with another, albeit minor, redesign, the worst voices yet, and this entire unseen backstory of the Cyber Wars and stuff like that. I don't know. This could have been a new villain entirely, and nothing would have changed other than the Cybermats. But this is a poor showing for the Silvery Boys. This is also another thing that going forward you will notice is that there are certain stories where the Cybermen have such a radical redesign that you could have replaced them with a completely new villain, and the story basically remains unchanged. And the Cyber Wars are something that are going to come up a lot here. It just seems kind of naff, to be honest, like as a concept. Like the Cybermen being scavengers and trying to get their race to survive and all that kind of thing that the 60s was doing with them was really interesting. And the Cyber Wars just sort of turning them into this sort of generic cybernetic alien race that wants to conquer everything. It's just kind of... That's what the Daleks were supposed to be, really. And I don't know, it sort of took a lot of the uniqueness out of the Cybermen as a concept. But anyway, the Cybermen would next appear in the 1982 story Earthshock. This time featuring the Fifth Doctor. This story is notable because it features the death of Adric, which is a big deal for the Doctor Who fandom apparently, and was recently mentioned in The Giggle, so there you go. So Earthshock opens in some caves. There's this doctor, she's not the Doctor, she's just a doctor, and she was looking for dinosaur bones or something, but her last expedition got killed by these GIMP droids. So she's got some soldiers now and they're going to investigate the caves. At the same time, the Fifth Doctor, complete with his celery stick, and companions Nyssa, Tegan and Adric show up in the caves for some reason. And anyway, these soldiers think the Doctor is the one who killed the people, but then they find the GIMP droids and realise that they are guarding a bomb that has been hidden here to destroy the entire Earth.
Who are they?
Androids.
So anyway, they defeat the androids and disarm the bomb, and it turns out that this is all a dastardly plan by the Cybermen to destroy the Earth.
Destroy them!
Basically, the Cybermen are still at war with everyone for some unknown reason, and there is going to be a big meeting of galactic leadership on Earth to discuss an alliance to finally destroy the Cybermen in the Cyber Wars. The Cybermen obviously can't let that happen, so they decide that they want to destroy the entire Earth, with the galactic leaders on it, so they can basically disorganise the resistance to them and win the war. So a bunch of Cybermen are just camped out in the basement of a freighter that has clearance to go to Earth, and they want to take it over so they can crash it into the Earth at warp speed and destroy the Earth. So they begin to do just that. This time the Cybermen have a new design once again. They lose their head guns and are just generally different. They also have new, really shitty voices and a weird amount of emotional output that seems at odds with their characterization. They are led by a cyber leader who likes to say excellent a lot.
Excellent. 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 This is excellent news, Doctor. Excellent.
And he does keep the black handlebars. He also has this cool helmet design where you can see the remains of his face beneath the helmet, which is really good.
This time we shall succeed, and you will live just long enough to witness it.
So anyway, the Doctor tracks the bomb signal to the freighter and shows up there, only to find dead crew members. Basically, the crew of the freighter had been disappearing, but Margaret Thatcher won't do anything about it because she needs to get her shipment to Earth, so she gets some sick money for everyone. So the Cybermen take over the ship because there is an entire army of them in the basement.
Fire!
And set it on a course to crash into the Earth. The Cyber leader then takes a Doctor hostage along with Tegan and Nyssa and goes to the TARDIS. Basically, he needs to escape and wants to watch the Earth die. Adric and the crew of the freighter and some of the soldiers from earlier, who have tagged along for some reason, are left behind. So as the Doctor is led away, Adric gives him this gold star for mathematical excellence that he has, because, the Cybermen are still allergic to gold. So the Cyber leader boards the TARDIS, and on the freighter the crew manages to overpower the Cyberman guards. Adric then goes to take the ship off course, but the Cybermen have locked the controls with this logic puzzle thing. Basically, you have to solve 3 logic puzzles to open it. This is some Hellraiser shit right here. Anyway, Adric is a genius, and so he just starts to try to do that. However, somehow he accidentally sends the entire freighter back in time by 65 million years. What? He then manages to take it out of warp drive so it won't just annihilate the Earth anymore. However, he doesn't realise that he is now basically the meteorite that wiped out the dinosaurs and is now, you know, a fixed point in time. So he even gets the chance to escape with the rest of the crew, but he elects to stay behind to get rid of the last lock.
Of course, that's it!
The Doctor and co. in the TARDIS manage to kill the Cyber Leader with the gold. But in the process, the Cyber Leader shoots the TARDIS console. Which means they can't go back and save Adric.
Please hurry, Doctor. We must get Adric off the freighter.
The console's damaged.
And as Adric is working, an injured Cyberman manages to shoot the console, meaning that Adric now cannot escape and cannot stop the collision. Which is actually a good thing, as I feel like the death of the dinosaurs is probably a fixed point in time, but anyway. So the Doctor is powerless as Adric kamikazes into the Earth and takes the dinosaurs with him. What a Chad. So this episode is a cult classic at this point, but in terms of the Cybermen, I think it's a pretty poor showing. We still have the shaky cyber wars that are never really explained. The Cybermen have terrible voices, show too many emotions, and are just generally not that creepy or intimidating. They still die to gold for some reason, and the only saving grace for them in this episode is the design, which is a step up from the last one. The organic mouth and stuff like that does go back to the body horror element that made the Cybermen so great in the early years, and it is also an important distinguishing factor to remind us that the Cybermen are indeed living creatures. However, they are so divorced from the original Cybermen, it is hard to reconcile them as the same villains. A few more notes here. There is a scene where the Cyber Leader watches some clips from the show itself to get the Doctor's history, which is kind of funny. But the Cybermen would then show up next, still in the 5th Doctor's run, with the 5 Doctors. Now, when I did my Dalek video series, I actually skipped over this one, despite the Daleks actually making an appearance. This is a mistake, but the Dalek appearance is so tiny compared with the Cyberman one that I'm going to go into the Cyberman's appearance here anyway. I will also briefly brush on the Dalek one as well. So this story came out in 1983, only 1 year after the Cybermen's last appearance, and this episode is really stuffed. Like, this isn't really a Cyberman story, despite them being in it, so we'll only briefly go over it, but this was the 20-year anniversary special of the entire show. It saw the return of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and technically 4th Doctor, Susan, Sarah Jane, and a number of other companions, the Brigadier, Bessie, the Daleks, the Master, the Cybermen, the Time Lords, and it is also the first appearance of Rassilon, so this is one hell of an episode. This story focuses on all 5 Doctors at the time being taken to the Death Zone on Gallifrey. Basically, the Time Lords used to nab things from time and space and make them do, like, the Hunger Games for their own amusement. And so there was a bunch of monsters in this area, like this weird spandex robot assassin. The Cybermen, the Daleks, and the Yeti. The Doctors and the respective companions each have to get to the tomb of Rassilon that is at the heart of the Death Zone, while the 5th Doctor fucks around with Time Lord bureaucracy. The Master is here too, and he is offered a full pardon and a new set of regenerations if he helps the Doctor navigate the Death Zone, but the Doctor doesn't believe that he's here to help him, which is fair. So anyway, while the Master is having a chat with the 5th Doctor, the Cybermen show up to attack them because someone planted a tracker on the Master's teleporter so the Cybermen can find him.
After you.
Halt! Halt! Or you will be destroyed!
They also have a weirdly gory fight scene, which includes a Cyberman puking. We've all been there after a night out, buddy. But with this spandex death droid, and then they all get killed by the Master towards the end, where he tricks them into walking onto a trap in the tomb of Rassilon. As far as the actual plot of the episode, basically the president of Gallifrey wants to be immortal, which can be attained by getting Rassilon's ring, but the tomb makes it so that you can't teleport there or anything. So he needs the doctors to get to the tomb and disable the tomb defences so he can go there, or something. Anyway, basically the immortality is actually just to be a living statue on Rassilon's coffin for eternity, so not a very good trade.
You seek immortality? Take the ring. You claim immortality, Lord Medusa. Others have come to claim immortality through the ages. Your place is prepared, Lord President Medusa.
So the Cybermen are here. The Cybermen here are just enemies. They're purely here for nostalgia, and were picked to be the more prominent villain because the Daleks actually couldn't operate on the random Welsh hills they were filming on. The Dalek does make an appearance in this like crystal cave thing, where it tries to take out the First Doctor and Susan, but ends up blowing itself up, and we get this cool Dalek mutant prop, which is nice. But anyway, it's not really a proper Cyberman story, but I thought I'd mention it. It's also notable because it is the only time the Third Doctor technically shared the screen with the Cybermen. So anyway, the Cybermen would next appear in the 6th Doctor story, Attack of the Cybermen, in 1985. This was Colin Baker's first true story as the Doctor, and so he's all erratic and weird. It's also an overstuffed nostalgia bait mess. But anyway, this story has the 6th Doctor and Perry, who is wearing a pretty interesting outfit, if you know what I mean. And it is basically an attempted best of the Cybermen. This story sees the return of Letton, one of the dudes who was working with the Daleks in Resurrection of the Daleks. He tricks a bunch of gangsters into going into the sewers to do a cheeky robbery, but in there they find this slick black cyber scout. So they manage to kill it because Cybermen aren't bulletproof anymore apparently, and then Lighton, turns himself and the lads over to a group of Cybermen that are setting up shop in the sewers. Get it, guys? It's like The Invasion. What a cool reference. So anyway, the Doctor manages to land in the same junkyard from an unearthly child. Get it, guys? What a cool nostalgic reference. And anyway, he's trying to fix the chameleon circuit in the TARDIS, which marks this as the only time in the show that we actually see the TARDIS shapeshift.
What are you doing?
Something I should have done a long time ago. Repair the chameleon circuit.
Anyways, the Cybermen in the sewers are busy trying to destroy the Earth in the past so that Mondas never gets destroyed in whenever that took place, like 2070 or whenever it was. Which really makes no sense when you think about it, because Mondas was going to die because they had no energy, and that's why it had to absorb the Earth's energy. So their plan is to use a comet and to pull it off course into the Earth. And it's never really explained exactly how this is going to work. But so the Doctor, Perry and Letton get sent off to Telos anyway, where the Cybermen are chilling. Get it, guys? It's like Tomb of the Cybermen. So anyway, the Cybermen from Tomb of the Cybermen are back, including the fat controller himself. But they all have the 80s cyber costumes and the shitty voices. So they're busy making Cybermen and have enslaved the Frost people that live on Telos. There is also this entire subplot with these two partially converted Cybermen slaves who are trying to escape, but they just end up getting wasted by a Cyberman later on anyway, so whatever. Basically, the Doctor ends up managing to rig a bomb that will blow up the tombs on Telos, and with the help of Lytton, who is actually working with the Telos people and isn't evil anymore, manages to blow up the Cybermen and keep time preserved. But, so this episode is a bloated mess, and it made writing a coherent summary a bit difficult. This plays a lot like an attempted Cybermen's greatest hits, with the Sewer Cybermen, the Tomb of the Cybermen, an attempted retcon of the 10th Planet, and all that. The Cyber Controller, while played with the same actor, just looks and sounds like shit, I guess. Like, the Cybermen's plans are barely explained and they're just a bit lame. The only thing this episode really has going for it is that it's the first time in the show that you ever get to see a Cyberman conversion. All throughout the episode, the Cybermen are slowly turning people into Cybermen, and it's pretty cool to see that.
Know you.
That's right. And I'm just beginning to find out about you.
Even poor Litton suffers the same fate, partially, and then dies. But anyway, that's the attack of the Cybermen. The Cybermen would appear one final time in the classic series with the 7th Doctor story, The Silver Nemesis, in 1988. So I lied back in part 1 when I said there was no 7th Doctor story for the Cybermen. Sorry about that. But anyway, let's get into The Silver Nemesis. So this one has the 7th Doctor, played by Sylvester McCoy, and his trusty companion, the annoying anarchist bitch, Ace. So this was broadcast on the 25th anniversary of the show, which seems like a bit of a theme for the Cybermen. So there is this Time Lord superweapon hidden on Earth, again. Although it's not the Hand of Omega this time, it's actually the Nemesis, which is this living metal statue thingy created by Omega and Rassilon to be the ultimate defender of Gallifrey. Anyway, there are 3 factions all looking to get a hold of it. Some neo-Nazis from South America, like just normal neo-Nazis, like just straight up neo-Nazis. Like, I don't know what they're doing here. Would be more fitting with a Dalek story, but anyway. An actual time-travelling witch. What the fuck? And the Cybermen, who now have this spiffy chrome colour scheme.
Cybermen.
What the hell is happening? None of these things make any sense. There's, like, whatever. Basically, the Doctor shot the Nemesis up into space a while back, and while having a little picnic with Ace, he gets an alarm that it's coming back to Earth.
You mean the world's going to end and you'd forgotten about it?
I've been busy.
How long have you known?
Well, in strictly linear terms, as a chronometer flies, I've known since November the 23rd, 1638.
Basically, the 3 factions converge on the device, but you do need a bow and an arrow to make it operational. The Witch and her simp fight Cybermen with golden-tipped arrows because that weakness has persisted.
A hit.
The neo-Nazis get absolutely bodied with the Cybermen.
Eradicate them.
And Ace kills Cybermen with a slingshot loaded with golden coins. Fuck it, why not? This story ends when the Doctor manages to activate the statue and uses it to destroy the Cybermen fleet. The simp then saves the Doctor by jabbing a golden arrow into the Cyber leader's chest, and that's it. That's the Cybermen's final appearance in the classic series. The chrome colour scheme looks really nice in my opinion, especially when outside, but the whole story is just kind of weird and is way too similar to Remembrance of the Daleks, which is funny because it actually references this in the episode, that it's basically the same as Remembrance of the Daleks, even down to the neo-Nazis. It just doesn't make sense. Like, why do we have the Cybermen, a witch, like an actual witch, like she can time travel through a potion, like what the fuck is happening? And then just Nazis. It's like, could we not have had at least communists or something like that, that are a little bit more thematically similar to the Cybermen? Why is it the Cybermen? The 70s and the 80s are a much weaker era for the Cybermen. Their entire premise is kind of forgotten, with only 1 or 2 stories focusing on their survival and the others just turning them into generic death cyborgs. They always seem to want to destroy the Earth, like that's their main motivation most of the time, and which I understand was the same in the 60s, but at least in the Tomb of the Cybermen, they had another motivation, like the Earth wasn't even mentioned. But the designs never get better than the 10th Planet. The voices are really boring and bad, and the Cybermen are consistently too emotional. They do get treated like serious threats, but I just feel like their potential is never fully reached, which is a common problem for the Cybermen. They're just a bit naff, really. They've tried to destroy the Earth so many times and failed every time. Like, guys, get a better hobby. We do get some lore for the Cyber Wars, but they just don't interest me that much. The desperate race trying to survive is a much better enemy than generic cyborg army. Although the Cyber Wars do get referenced a bit in the Moffat and Chibnall eras, so... Anyway, Interestingly, this era does see the first use of the black handlebars of the Cyberman leaders, and there is a lot of continuity errors because a lot of the early Cybermen stories were lost at the time of this episode. For example, Tomb of the Cybermen was only found in the 90s, and that's why when they go back to the tombs in Attack of the Cybermen, they look completely different, and the Cybermen all look different as well. Not the best showing for the Cybermen, but then again, the 70s and 80s weren't that great for the Daleks either. Next up, we will be looking at the Russell T Davies era of the Cybermen, which is very short, but I will have a lot to say because, you know, those guys are an integral pillar of my childhood. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe if you want to catch the next installment. Check out part 1, and if you like Doctor Who, you can check out my entire series I did about the Daleks. If you want to see anything I've written, head over to my website and check out some of the short stories there. I just posted my short story Colours, which is all about like AI and stuff, so a bit relevant. I posted that a few weeks ago, but if you want to check out my more recent work, go over there. Thank you very much.